back to watching the Property Guide in ET Now. Thank you so much for staying with us. This week, our focus is Chennai. That's the real estate market. All of our guests are standing by. There's Karthik Verma, there's Jayashree Karoor, and of course, Priya, who's in the studio with us. Before we talk about Chennai right now, let's take a look at how prices have moved in the city over the last few years. Avan is here standing by. Avan.
Thanks for that, Faye. Well, the residential property prices in Chennai have witnessed a slow but steady increase over the last 3 years. Porur, which is one of the fast-developing suburbs of Chennai, has seen a property price increase from 3,525 rupees per square foot in 2011 to 4,950 rupees per square foot today. Now, that's a whopping price increase of 40% in the last 3 years. Wwatch, which is an IT hub, has seen a price increase of 17% in the last 3 years. The residential prices here are at an average of 6,450 rupees per square foot today. In the south of Chennai, Tiruvammayur, that's seen a price increase of 28% over the last 3 years. Residential property prices here are quoting at around 9,475 rupees per square foot currently. Ambattur has seen a lot of industrial and IT activity taking place, and in spite of a 29% price increase in the last 3 years, it is still one of the most affordable locations in Chennai, with the prices quoting at around 4,025 rupees per square foot at present. OMR, or the Old Mahabalipuram Road, is an IT corridor in suburban Chennai and is witnessing a lot of real estate activity. The prices of residential properties here stand at around 4,075 rupees per square foot versus 3,225 rupees per square foot in 2011. And T Nagar, which is one of the busiest shopping districts of Chennai, that's one of the most expensive localities as well. The prices here stand at around 12,625 rupees per square foot at present. With that, it's back to you, Faye.
All right, Avan, thank you so much for that update. Again, I'm going to start with Jayashree at this point. Jayashree, when we talk about Chennai, there have been a lot of reports about the fact that there's a lot of supply that hasn't been sold in Chennai. The market has actually been a little slow over the last 1 year. What's your reading of what's going on the ground right now?
Chennai market is actually oversupplied, but wherever there is an economic activity, there's an economic pull. That is where the residential markets have been selling. This would be typically Sri Perumbudur, the OMR, the GST. These are areas where there is economic activity at one end, and that is creating a long corridor of residential development, and that has been fairly popular with the buyers. There's a lot of inquiry in the Chennai markets. If I look at what's happening on our website, we see a lot of searches, a lot of inquiries happening. But a Chennai consumer always does a lot of research before he buys the property. With about 35,000 properties completed or close to completion, he has a lot of choice and he's spoiled for choice. So I think the consumer is actually looking around, scouting around, but not as in the rest of the country. I don't think consumers are very upbeat about buying property at this point of time. So it's a slow market right now.
So, Jayashree, like we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, in any market where there's oversupply, do you think there's room here for customers to find stronger discounts, perhaps negotiate better prices in Chennai?
Absolutely. The 10 to 15% negotiated values that I think Karthik was speaking about is very much a reality. Today, the consumer knows that he can negotiate, and developers too know that the consumer is in the driver's seat. I think consumers are still sitting on the fence, and therefore developers are quite willing to negotiate and get them to buy.
All right, I'm going to do one round of questions for each of our guests to find out what neighborhoods in Chennai they're most bullish about. And when I say bullish, I mean where is the infrastructure going to come up, which neighborhood is going to appreciate the most. Karthik, you first. Tell us which neighborhoods in Chennai you see the most activity in going forward.
We still feel that OMR is probably the best destination for somebody to plant their roots and plant their money into to buy a property. There's a lot of IT, as he said, infrastructure over there. There's very large companies such as TCS, PayPal, eBay from the US, including our very own Times of India that has very large office space over there. So we feel, given the office cluster over there and the subcluster of the IT boom and so on, OMR is probably the best destination where we would put our money.
What about you, Ghulam? We were talking about the fact that Sri Perumbudur, OMR, these areas, huge oversupply at this point. But are you also sticking to those areas right now?
Well, in terms of investment, it's a big issue because we haven't seen the prices really going up in last couple of years. In fact, there has been softening or reduction of prices that we have seen. So OMR, well, it is oversupplied, but in terms of usage, it's not for investments. End use is still fine. However, what we have seen, there is a location called Pallikarani, which is just before the OMR begins. It's in the heart of the city. The location was actually lying low or was not really favored because of its lack of connectivity. But the new monorail project, which is the Vandalur-Velachery monorail project, is connecting this location to the GST, the OMR and such. And which will, in short period of time, will bring this property back in favor.
Alright, so here's a list, in fact, of projects in Chennai that our panel of experts think are interesting at this point. Take a look. Here's a list of recommendations of properties in Chennai that our panelists have put together. Purva Swan Lake on OMR Road, available between 53 and 75 lakh rupees. Iris Court by Mahindra Life Spaces on GST Road, between 35 and 52 lakh rupees. Oxygen by Urban Tree Infra, sold between 34 and 41 lakh rupees. Cosmos City by the Provident Group, between 28 and 35 lakh rupees. Republic by Akshaya Group, between 27 and 60 lakh rupees, and Silver Spring by the Prestige Group, sold between 1.3 and 6.9 crore rupees. Okay, let me quickly answer some more questions. Nikhil has written in, he has a 2-bedroom flat that's under construction right now on Kolshet Road in Thane. He says the flat will be ready in 6 months and he's thinking of selling this flat and buying a 3-bedroom apartment in the same area which will be ready to move in 6 to 12 months. His budget is 90 lakh rupees. Does this make sense? Ghulam, does it make sense at this point to get out of a under construction flat by another under construction flat?
His 3 BHK would essentially ask for a 1200 to 1400 kind of size of a property. And that size is difficult to fit into a 90 lakh budget. Even if you're talking about Kolshet Road where options are limited, still your rates per square feet are in the range of today about 8 to 10,000 rupees a square feet. So a 1200 or 1400 square feet property will be way ahead of 90 lakh that he has put as his budget. But if you talk about Ghodbandar Road, which is not too far off, it would perhaps be a few kilometers from Kolshet. There the range is slightly wider and slightly cheaper.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time on these 2 segments. It's time for us to take a break. But before that, let me thank all of our guests. Ghulam, thank you so much for coming in. Karthik and Jayashree, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Remember, if you have questions for any of our guests, write to us. The email ID is at the bottom of your screen. It'll be our pleasure to answer your questions on the show. On the other side of this break, in our legal corner, we'll find out what you can do as a customer if your builder has delayed construction. Don't go anywhere.